Imagine if you had hundreds of women trying to take you out and buy you things and take you on extravagant vacations, trying to please you sexually. What would you do as a man? You'd be a dickhead. Let's be honest with each other. You would be a dick. Completely entitled and impossible to date. Female entitlement is officially one of the biggest problems that we have in America, in the West. And the modern woman is entitled for one reason. It is because they have been given everything they need or want without really deserving it. Okay, we're going to break this down. We all know that women are born with their value up front. And they don't have to do anything in order to really get the attention from the opposite sex. They really don't have the burden of performance. They don't have to self-improve. And that is okay. And that is okay. Guys, welcome to the show. Okay, this is going to be the weekly show that we are going to talk about these subjects. Today, we're going to talk about why are females so entitled and how we're going to solve the issue. We're going to come up with solutions here. Okay? The problem is that the more entitled a woman becomes, the harder she is to please. And the dynamics between men and women are shifting along with the gender roles. And most importantly, the expectations that come from said entitlement. There are certain expectations that women have of men. But the expectations that men have of women are extremely low or non-existent. Excuse me. Let's talk about it as it starts to absolutely pour outside. But so the way we're going to run this program is eventually this will become a live. This will become a live show. I don't know how to do it yet, but that is the goal. So for today, I'm going to try not to edit this video as much as I normally edit my other videos, and therefore I have to be on point here. So bear with me. This is going to be episode 1. I don't know what it's going to be called yet. I might have the name of it already by the time I publish this. But from my experience, let's get right into it. From my experience, most women feel entitled to a man. They think that they deserve a man just for being themselves, just for being a woman. And that's understandable. Okay, but I don't know too many guys that would say the same thing. I myself don't feel entitled to having a beautiful, dutiful, good woman. I don't even feel entitled to have any woman. I actually don't have a woman right now. I am single right now. That doesn't mean that I'm not interacting or hanging out with women, but I don't have a relationship right now. Whereas most women, they actually do feel entitled. I've asked multiple women that are single, and I asked them multiple questions. One being, do you think that you deserve a good man? And the answer is always yes, regardless of all the mishaps that they've had, all the mistakes they've made, the inadequacies that they have going for themselves, the bad economic and the bad financial situations that they've put themselves in. Regardless of that, they still think they deserve a woman. When I was at one of my lowest points, I knew that at that moment, I was not deserving of a good woman. And we'll talk about that a little later in this video, because men do play a big role in the female entitlement problem. So when a woman is given everything they want, everything they need, without having to reciprocate anything more than their sheer presence, they become insufferable. I know this from experience. And entitled to their own detriment. They're so entitled, they become so entitled that their downfall is inevitable. They stay perpetually single, jumping from situationship to situationship, thinking the grass is always greener on the other side. That a better man will always come to the rescue and give them more resources, more attention, and more love, I guess. And unfortunately, this comes at a cost to society. And everybody talks about this male loneliness epidemic. And that is the cost. That is the outcome of what is happening. But no one really talks about the female loneliness epidemic, which is actually a much bigger problem. Because it is incurable. Whereas men have a tendency to self-improve. Well, they go through trauma first. Then they come to a realization, and then they go through a self-improvement process, and they can get back on their feet, and they can make things happen. Men take action. But women, on the other hand, are usually not receptive to criticism or even advice that can help them improve their situation. So now let's talk about why this is happening. Okay, remember, I am reading off of my notes, but we are going to get into a little bit of a monologue afterwards, which in the future it will become a dialogue, and we'll have a call-in show, hopefully. I have to figure out how that all works. But for now, I'm just going to read off of my notes. So why is this happening? And I personally blame men. Men are so weak today. They give away their time, their attention, their resources without demanding anything in return. Buying strange women bags, taking them out for expensive dinners, and even paying for their bills just to get a chance to hang out and maybe have an opportunity to smash. That's sad, not gonna lie. Which rarely comes to fruition, as women know that once they give it up, if you know what I mean, the interest starts to wean off from the man, and they'd have to look for the next sucker that's going to give him all the attention, all the effort, all the resources without demanding anything in return. And are women at fault for this? I don't think so. Imagine if us guys, imagine if imagine if you had hundreds of women trying to take you out and buy you things and take you on extravagant vacations, trying to please you sexually. What would you do as a man? You'd be a dickhead. Let's be honest with each other. You would be a dickhead. Completely entitled and impossible to date. Just like most women nowadays. Alright guys, before we continue, please consider subscribing to the channel and also like, comment, and share. It really helps pump out the content and get out there and reach more guys that might need to hear this information, okay? And always remember to watch till the end. I greatly appreciate it for those of you who do make it to the end. I can see it in the analytics, how far people are watching the videos, and I really do appreciate all of you that are watching till the end, because it really helps to boost these videos. So thank you. All right, let's get back into it. So now let's talk briefly. All right, so now let's talk briefly about some of the solutions. All right, I think that first, before we actually specify what the solutions might be, we have to put blame on either party. I hate to break it down like this, but it's the absolute truth. You have to think about it like a business, like a project. And when something goes wrong in a project, in a business, someone is to blame. There needs to be accountability. And usually someone has to pay up for their mistakes, right? I mean, I come from the world of construction and architecture and design. And when a professional in that field makes a mistake, they are liable. So in this situation here, we have female entitlement becoming a huge problem. Okay, we need to blame one or the other, female or male. And I personally think that as a man, or as men in general, we are always better off taking accountability, no matter what. Of course, if it's not our fault, yes, I'm not going to blame all men for this. It's not all of our fault. But I will say that if we individually take accountability for what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, we're going to be much better off. We don't need to blame the other sex. We don't need to blame women. We can take accountability for ourselves, take control of the reins, and actually make the changes that are going to improve the situation. Because female entitlement doesn't only affect them, it obviously affects us. Okay, so now that we have someone to blame, look in the mirror, right? We're looking in the mirror ourselves, and now that we have someone to blame, which is us, we need to talk about how to take accountability as a man and really look at why men are giving up their resources, their time, their effort so easily. Why are they just giving it away? I don't get it. I personally work hard for my money, and I would never give it away for nothing in return. That it's a value exchange. That's what money is. Money is a is a note that holds value, and you need to exchange that for something else. And yes, relationships nowadays are definitely or I should say, relationships have always been transactional. So we can't really get upset at that. Okay. So why are men giving up their resources so easily? And when I say resources, I'm not only talking about money, because one of the most important resources that a man has is his time. Okay, his attention, his effort. Why are they giving that away to strange women? Why are they giving that away to strange women? I don't know that one. That one I don't know. That one I don't know. But why are they giving that away as well to their girlfriends, their wives, their mothers, their sisters, to any female? You must demand something in return. It doesn't have to be like an object or anything along those lines, or service or anything. But if you're going to give someone your attention, that person must deserve your attention. Okay, same way that a woman looks at a man and says, why would I give him my sexuality? Well, in return, you're going to give her attention. You're going to give her possibly money, in the sense that you might get into a relationship and take care of her. You might, bring her into your home, and you might even just take her out for dinner. Whatever it is that the value exchanges for that situation or relationship, it is transactional. So why are men giving it up so easily? Okay, and speaking of giving it up to strange women, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to give you an example. All right, I've been doing some experimenting on the dating apps, and I'm currently talking, and I am matched, and I am currently talking to this very cute girl. She's 26. I'm not going to show you the picture. I'm not going to out her out on the internet. And she's extremely attractive, totally my type. Okay, the interaction started off well, but I have a small test that I do. I give to most women that I interact with once I'm ready to go on like a date. And that is my first date. I usually invite them out for a long walk, a jog, a workout, something outdoors. And I usually put it on Saturday or Sundays early, like 9:30. Okay. And I'm going to show you right here. Here. So I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to take a picture of it or something later, but it says, hey, come out for a long walk tomorrow morning at such place. We'll walk and do a light jog, like 4 miles, and then we'll do some paddleboarding, 9:30 a.m. See you there. So her response is, I prefer dinner dates so I can sit down to talk and really get to know you. So why would I spend $200 on a date or more on a date to get to know this woman, a complete stranger? And let's talk about something. She has the audacity to ask that on a dating app. We've only messaged, there's only like 10 or 12 back and forths. So it's really early in the interaction to ask for a dinner date. That shows that is her bare minimum. That is what she's getting from other men. Whoa. That is what she's getting from other men. Okay, the sky is falling right now around here. Bear with me. Hopefully we don't lose power. But that goes to show me that other guys are just taking her out on dinner dates. And I'm going to respond to that message right after this video. And I'm going to tell you what my response is. And my response will be something along the lines that I operate in the complete inverse of that, which is I want to get to know you first before I take you on a date. Of course, she's probably going to unmatch me or say that she doesn't date guys that are cheap and don't want to go on dinner dates. And I'm okay with that. Okay, that is precisely how I weed out these types of girls. And I'm not going to lie, she's extremely attractive and my type. My type is not that abundant around here. Okay. I like a certain type of woman, and physically she met those criteria. So going back to the entitlement subject, she feels entitled not only to a man, to a good man, to a man that can afford a dinner date, but she also feels entitled to getting that dinner date right off the bat. Think about that. Just take a moment to think about that entitlement. She's basically saying that she's entitled to my money, to my hard-earned money. And that ain't happening. Okay? So why are men giving up? Why are other men actually taking her out on dates? Okay? And maybe not getting anything in return except her presence. It's because they're weak. Okay? I'm not going to beat around the bush. These are men that are mostly weak men, mentally weak men that have not put in the work, who do not have self-respect. Okay? And these men simply do not know how to say no to women. Okay? And I'm not saying that I am not guilty of that. We are all guilty of that, but we must learn from our experiences. I actually had an LTR that convinced me to spend my time and money and put it into remodeling an Airstream travel trailer. I haven't talked about this in this video, in this channel that much, but I should have said no. Okay, I quit my job. I used a lot of my savings in order to do what she wanted. She wanted a remodeled Airstream trailer, and she wanted to travel the U.S. Did it sound like a good idea at the time? Maybe it sounded like fun. Of course, it's going to be fun to travel around the U.S. with a girl and not work, right? But did I know in the back of my mind that was the wrong thing for me to do in my mid-30s? Absolutely. And that was my inability to say no that caused me to lose all my savings, and inevitably, by giving her what she wanted, by saying yes, she left me. So if there's one lesson you learn from this video, is that when you give women what they want, they no longer have an incentive to give you what you want. Okay? Think about that. All right? Just play that back. Play that back and think about it. Okay? And just like I did, most men do not value their time. I would spend 10, 12 hours in the hot Miami sun inside this oven, basically, because these Airstream trailers are basically just metal. Okay, I would spend sometimes 6, sometimes 8, sometimes 10, 12 hours, depending on what I was trying to do. And I did that for, I don't know, a year. So I wasted all that time. I can, in retrospect, say that it was a waste of time. But at the time, I wanted to make her happy. Okay, and that is the worst thing a man can do. As we can see now from this female entitlement problem that we have. We have men like me in the past trying to make women happy that maybe not only do they not deserve it, but it's going to be to the detriment of the relationship anyways. You know what they say, happy wife, happy life. But we all know that what that really means is that you become her slave until she decides that you're no longer attractive enough to even bear having you around as a slave, and then she leaves you. That's pretty much what that means, okay? So how do we fix this, right? We want to talk about some solutions. And I think one of the things that we have to actually address here is that most guys don't have an old geezer like me around to tell them these things, to give them the wisdom from our failures, right? I actually don't have, or didn't have, I do have a few guys in the group right now, but I didn't have an old geezer that I can come to and really, chat it up and see, learn from their mistakes. And I think since we have an epidemic of single mothers out there, a lot of boys, a lot of men grew up or are growing up without a father figure. And that's a huge problem because of that. They don't have someone there to guide them and to show them the way when it comes to female dynamic, to the female and male dynamics. And that's why guys like me, Richard Cooper, Myron Gaines, MLD, shout out to MLD, we have made it our mission. We have made it our mission to improve men, to help improve men, I should say, because not all men want the help. They need the help, but they are too lazy to put in the work. But that's why guys like us really are trying to elevate men. Sometimes it's from a below average man to average. And then in other programs like Richard Cooper, I think he's more his program is more for average men to become elite men. And Myron Gaines, he takes, in my opinion, below average men and just gets them up and into the self-improvement journey and to becoming an average man or better. All right. And MLD, he's a pro at, he's one of the best dating coaches out there that helps men improve in all aspects of their life. We need old guys out here. We need the geezers giving us the wisdom. Okay, we need the young guys to listen to us, and we need to listen to the older guys. All right, because most guys on their own will never set standards and expectations for themselves and for those around them. And without standards, you can never truly value yourself. All right. And most guys undervalue their capabilities because they have no standards. So let's get right into some of the actionable steps that you guys can take to stop the imping. I can't say that word on YouTube, I think. It starts with an S. And value your time. All right. How do we get guys to value their time? To become the best version of yourself. And to create a life worth living. A life that women will want to be a part of. A life protected by your standards and has clear expectations and boundaries for all that want to come along for the ride. All right? And the number one thing is going to be that. And I was thinking about this earlier today at the park. I went out for a 1 mile run, which is a lot for me, by the way. That's a long story, but if you've kept up with the channel, you know that that's a lot for me because I have some back issues. But guys, I was thinking about that. Most guys, they never challenge themselves. Okay. And I've made it a point to challenge myself on a daily basis. And I love that concept from Ed Milet's book. I think it's called The Power of One More. And I apply that all the time. I even taught my son multiple times how to apply this to whatever he's doing. If it's soccer, schooling, jiu-jitsu, whatever he's up to, the power of one more. And what I do for this, for example, today I went out for a run. I honestly, my plan was to run for like 2 minutes. And by the time I got to the 2-minute mark on my watch, I realized, well, I mean, I could keep going. I feel pretty good. You know, I was out of breath because I'm not really running that often, but I kept going. And the point is, every other minute, I would say to myself, well, what if I just keep doing 1 more minute? The power of one more. And I kept going and going and going till eventually I got back all the way around to my truck. That was 13, I don't have my other watch on me, 13 minutes and 24 seconds. So I went from 2 minutes to 13 plus minutes. That was a full mile. And I went from and the way I achieve that is by understanding the power of just saying one more. All right. I challenged myself. And I do this every single day. And most guys do not challenge themselves. They don't even know how to challenge themselves. They succumb to lust. They succumb to their desires. You know, we all have the urge to fap. But do you have the willpower to say no, not today, not tomorrow? And say not today over and over again until you don't fap ever, really, right? So I think that's one of the things that guys are missing today is the ability to challenge themselves. And yes, we can all be challenged by others. Sometimes we have to pay for a mentor, coaching. They can challenge you. That's one way to do it. You can also have your girlfriend, wife, or your mother, sister, brother. I would prefer a man because men understand other men and why they're challenging themselves. Women, unfortunately, they don't really have that drive. Okay, so when you ask your mom to challenge you, it's gonna be kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie, that's not gonna happen for most of you guys. So, but if you can have someone challenge you, that's fine. But the skill of challenging yourself is something that I think is missing and would be one of the solutions here to this female entitlement. Because remember, the female entitlement comes from weak men giving up their resources too easily, their time, their effort, their love, and their attention too easily. So if you can challenge yourself and become the best version of yourself through self-improvement, if you can do hard things, if you occupy your time with things that actually matter, you won't even be that involved in the activities that would put you in the situations to be giving up your resources to a strange woman, a woman that has nothing to offer you. Or maybe, let me not say that. Some women do have things to offer, of course, but to a woman that will not give you what you're looking for. Because women also are very good at reserving, withholding. They withhold sex, they withhold attention, they withhold love from men to get what they want, be it time, attention, effort, resources. Okay, so the second thing that I think we're missing, okay, this is probably one of the most important ones, and I would think the easiest one, the one that you can implement immediately, is that you need to set standards. You need to set expectations for the relationships with all of the females in your life. And I mean girlfriend, wives, sisters, cousins, even workmates, or and business associates. You need to set the standards and expectations with all the women around you. And if we all did that, this female entitlement problem would not be a problem. But we men don't like to set expectations, okay? But most guys are not doing that. We're not setting expectations, and we're not putting the boundaries that are going to safeguard our relationships. All right, and number 3, the next thing that I think is also very important is to put yourself first. A lot of guys forget this, especially when they are in a relationship. They forget to put themselves first. If you are the man in the relationship, you should be the leader in the relationship. Okay, that's a whole different topic, and it's quite controversial for some crazy reason. I think the controversy itself is not a pushback on the fact that men should be leaders. It is actually just a pushback on the fact that men are better leaders than women, which is a biological fact. So what do I mean by putting yourself first? You must set goals that will set you up for success. We are all goal-striving machines, especially men, okay? That's what we do. We set a goal and we do everything in our power to achieve it. And then we set a new goal and repeat that process over and over again. My whiteboard over there actually has the outline of how to set goals properly so that you can create a loop. And that loop of setting and achieving goals is basically the blueprint for self-improvement and success. All right, excuse me. Getting a little thirsty here. And there's a book that I highly recommend. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's in the bathroom right now. Yes, I read on the toilet. But in that book, the gentleman who wrote that book was a plastic surgeon. And the plastic surgeon had his patients come in that wanted to change their face because they thought that by changing their face, it would change their attitude, their confidence, their ability to perform at work and demand respect from their family and friends and associates. And what you begin to learn in that book is that we are goal setting and goal striving machines. So the way our minds work is that if we don't have a goal, okay, and we're not working towards that goal, and we never achieve that goal, that's when we, especially men, get lost. And at that point, that's when we become that S word, imps. Okay, that's how we become imps, because you have no goals. Okay, because remember, number one was you need to learn how to challenge yourself. So if you have a goal that is hard, you will have to challenge yourself in order to achieve that goal. And number two, you have to set standards and expectations. So if you have goals, you can now set standards and expectations from all the people around you. And when something comes up, you can say, well, my standard for friendship is XYZ, because if you don't meet that standard, you're going to derail me from achieving my goal. And that's why that is so important, that you have that goal, okay? And when you put yourself first in this process, which is number 3, put yourself first, all right? That's how you make sure that you meet your goals, all right? And with these standards, you have an actual baseline that you can use to ask yourself when things come up, does this situation, does this opportunity, does this relationship push me towards my goal or away from it? Okay, so that is the importance of having goals, standards, boundaries, expectations, and learning how to challenge yourself. All right. And lastly, guys, if you're taking notes, this is the last one. Self-improvement is what sets men apart from women. Okay, we are talking about the women's female empowerment, female entitlement problem, not empowerment, which could be a problem as well, but female entitlement problem. Okay, and I honestly don't think this is offensive, in my opinion, because I've talked to a lot of women, friends, family, and they agree with me. A lot of these young chicks out there, I date kind of young. I kind of go out with younger chicks, and they are totally entitled. Whereas when I date older chicks, like in their 30s, they're not as entitled. All right, they're more cautious with what they say and what they demand from you. But the younger girls are in their prime. They're young. They're not looking at the future. They are definitely entitled, and I think women of all ages can admit that is the case. So women do not need to self-improve, because men like us, we're going to pursue them anyway. As long as they're good looking, as long as they're, they incite something in us, if you know what I mean, we're going to pursue. But men, on the other hand, must self-improve in order to even get an opportunity to be with a woman. So self-improvement for a man is the way to go, is the only way forward, really. Because when you're not improving on a daily basis, you're stagnant and you're stuck. There's no way to progress. All right, guys, so to tie it all in, men today are not self-improving. And therefore, women have learned that if they can dangle the carrot of sexuality over these guys' heads, they can get all the benefits of a heterosexual relationship while withholding all or some sexual access. Because these men don't know how to say no. They don't have goals. They have not set the standards that can deter predatory women from getting into their lives, and don't have the masculine presence to challenge their own inadequacies. They don't understand the benefits of overcoming hard things and getting on a never-ending path of self-improvement. A lot of guys don't really know that self-improvement, like I said, is the way. We can't really control what the other sex does. We can't control what women do, the way they behave, the way they react, but we can control how we as men respect ourselves and each other. And the ultimate victory when it comes to the female entitlement problem is not to address their issues, but to address ours. A man that takes full accountability is a man that cannot lose, is a man that is in control of his life. Now, how can we do that? How do we get guys to get into the best shape of their life, to be healthy, to start self-improving, to respect themselves, to set standards? How do we do that? All right. And this is where we're going to break away from my notes. All right. I'm going to close this off because I don't want this to distract me. All right. Now I have a blank screen. I am using a new mic. And if you guys are interested, I have a backup mic right here that is hooked up to the camera just in case this mic is not properly recording the audio. All right. I'm not going to risk it. This is a long video. I think I'm not really sure. I have GarageBand open here, so I have to figure out how to work it all into the system here. I'm still working on this, guys. All right. So how do we get guys? How do we get guys to value themselves, to really understand what they're capable of? Because I think one of the biggest problems that we have right now is that a lot of guys don't have confidence. And the lack of confidence really comes from the lack of doing things, to putting in the work. That is something that every confident man can attest to. I'll give you an example. When it comes to dating and cold approach, just talking to women in general, a man that feels comfortable and feels secure and confident when talking to women is most likely a man that has a lot of reps, has put in the reps, a lot of practice. We all started somewhere, of course. In your teen years, you have conversations in high school or middle school with women, and you have a crush on a girl, and that's how it all starts. Okay, some guys, if you're watching, you know who you are. You skipped that era. You were playing video games. You were shy. You were a mama's boy. Okay? I personally put in the work. I remember in high school. I don't know if it's, the hormones rushing through our body as a teenager, but I was running around after these girls and I was putting in the work. I had weight training class during high school, so I was able to build up a physique. My first language was actually Spanish, so I learned English pretty late. I was like 11 when I learned English. So I wasn't the best English speaker, but by the time high school came around, I was fluent, obviously, and I developed relationships with some of the girls in school. I had my first girlfriend. Her name was what was her name? I am 44, guys, so bear with me. What the hell was her name? It'll come to me. She was beautiful Colombian girl with black straight hair. She had that skin color that I personally like, which is it's kind of like a golden skin color. I don't know what to call that, but Valerie, that was her name, Valerie. Okay, Valerie, if you're watching this. If you're single, hit me up. I'm kidding. But yeah, her name was Valerie. She was cool. That was my first girlfriend. Like, I think it was 10th or 11th grade. We kissed and that's it. But those experiences are what builds your confidence. All right. And as you get older, you start drinking, and which I don't recommend, really, to be honest with you. But that experience is really what sets men apart from, or men that have confidence apart from the men that have to build their confidence later on in life. I will admit, the more confidence a man has with women, the more experience he probably had with women. And that's, it goes hand in hand. So for the guys that have not put in the work already, the guys that in high school and right after high school maybe skipped that era, and they never built up the experiences to become a confident man. Now that you're in your 30s or 40s, or maybe you're still in your 20s, but you're not confident with women, or even at the workplace for that matter, you need to understand that it's on you. Again, you got to take full accountability and take action. If you're struggling with women, you have two options. Option one, you hire someone to help you, okay? Like a dating coach. Number two, you just go ahead and put in the reps. It's going to take you a lot longer to really learn the ropes and figure it all out, because it is complicated. Women are complicated. All right? But what you don't want to do is become part of this problem. You don't want to be an imp. Starts with an S. You don't want to be an imp and give away your resources, time, effort, and attention to women that don't deserve it. Because they will use you. They absolutely will use you. And that starts a cycle that has led us to what we are today, where females are entitled to not just the man, but his resources, his attention, effort, and time. So I think we're going to leave it at that. I think this was a positive and productive episode. I do encourage you guys to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I really do appreciate that. If you want to connect with me, make sure you check out the links in the description. I'm also going to leave links to all of my worksheets and workbooks that I have for men. I've got the mindset workbook, and I also have the nutritional protocol workbook. They're both actually, I think they're on sale right now. And tomorrow's Father's Day. Okay, I'm recording this the night before Father's Day. It happens to be one of my sister's birthdays, so I'm going to have to do whatever the hell I want in the morning because it's Father's Day. And what do I want to do? I'm going to go for a walk and a jog again. I want to make sure that I get the challenge in early in the morning, and maybe if I have time, a quick gym session, lunch, spend time with my son, and then I'm going to go to my sister's birthday party. She's turning 21. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting because I'm going to be the old guy there. So we'll see. I mean, her mother is going to be there, which she's a half sister. So her mother will be there, her aunts will be there, etc. But yeah, it's going to be cool. And so yeah, happy Father's Day to all of you guys that are fathers out there. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and it really does help. Let's get the engagement up on these videos. I'm going to try to get this to become a live thing, a live session. And the only day that I have where I can probably do this on a weekly basis is going to be Tuesdays. So what I'll do is I'll probably publish this video on Tuesday and start publishing them on Tuesdays. So that way when I do figure out how to do it live, I can do the live on Tuesdays. All right, it's the only day that I know that I can actually do it. It's probably going to be at nighttime. And I also know that a lot of the guys in this field, in my industry, I know that they stream on other days. I kind of did that research a while ago. And I think they stream on Mondays and like Wednesdays, etc. But Tuesday seems to be a good day to stream where I can, have consistency because I don't have certain obligations that I do have on other days during the week. All right, now I'm just blabbing here. So let's just leave it at that. I want to say thank you guys. It is getting late. I'm supposed to go to the gym. But I was trying to set up the new mic. I got all excited. I like this new format that I'm working on. In the future, I'd like to have some videos that I can react to. But for now, I got excited and I prolonged it a little bit. So now it's 9 p.m. and I'm supposed to go to the gym. And it's raining. But I said I would, so I must. I don't really want to, but I'm going to do it anyways. And you'd be surprised. Some of the gym sessions that you really don't want to go follow through with, those are the best gym sessions. I really do believe that is true. When you say, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't have the energy, I'm tired, or I just don't feel like it, and you challenge yourself and you actually go to the gym, those end up being some of the absolute best gym sessions that you're going to have. So thank you guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week. Peace.